This is Retirement Keys with Anthony Congemi from Crescent City Retirement Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Anthony provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is Retirement Keys with your host, Anthony Congemi.
Welcome to another show of Retirement Keys. I'm your host, Anthony Congemi, and we have our fabulous co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Tony Shore. Tony, thank you for being here, sir.
Once again, great intro. I don't deserve it, but that was a great intro, Anthony. Great to be here with you. And it's a great weekend. Just saying hey to a lot of our listeners out there. I just want to say, Anthony, before we get started, how much you love hearing from listeners, getting questions from listeners, setting up those no-charge complimentary consultations. There's no obligation. So listeners, give Anthony a call and set up an appointment at his office, and they'll run some reports for you. Anthony, what's that phone number our listeners can call?
They can call 504-828-2171. Our retirement map is really a full holistic planning that encompasses your estate and legacy planning, your healthcare strategy, your investment plan, your income strategy, and taxes. So it really is a holistic plan, our retirement map here at Crescent City Retirement Group, and it's the 5 keys to a stress-free retirement. So we really encompass those 5 key areas, and you can call us at 504-828-2171. And as a radio listener, it's complimentary, and we want to make sure that we get you that map. And so you have something to tangible that you can compare and really glean from, so you can have that successful retirement that you deserve.
Excellent. And that's what it's all about, really watching those finances, your investments, your savings, your retirement savings, to make sure that you can live a happy, long, and comfortable retirement when you get to that point, or make sure you have the money to send the kids or grandkids to college, those types of things, travel. It's all very important, and having a trusted fiduciary, a financial services professional like yourself, Anthony, is huge. Especially right now. Now, we're going to talk today. I know, Anthony, you wanted to talk about the state of the union, not just the country, but the state of the financial union, the state of our finances, especially here for Americans across the country, because it's been rather a perfect storm with rising interest rates, rising inflation. You know, the Fed had their biggest single rate increase of interest rates in 2 decades. They raised it 0.5%. May not sound like much. We'll talk about that, but I have a few questions about that for you. But also, combined with inflation at over 8% and the markets, I mean, we even dipped into a bear territory a little bit. But again, the markets are up and down. You know, today they're up, tomorrow they might be down again. So our listeners, their financial emotions anyway, kind of get jerked around in this climate, don't they, Anthony?
Oh, no question, Tony. And as you say, it is more or less a perfect storm, because typically when equities are having trouble, you know, the safe haven is bonds. But again, as you mentioned, due to inflation and due to interest rates and the spike of Feds raising rates, you know, inflation, you know, you can define inflation different ways, but really, and as far as I feel, inflation really can just simply be defined as too many dollars chasing too few of goods. And so at the end of it, you know, when you have this labor shortage and you have supply and demand, Tony, I mean, if there's as the demand increases and the supply decreases, you get inflation. And so, of course, that's what we see. And then, of course, COVID it all began there as far as supply chain issues and work labor issues, and then you couple that with all of the subsidies and over $5 trillion of influx of subsidy dollars being poured into the economy, and then you tie that with the inflation with the supply issues, and then you've got this really inflation is off the charts. So we've got that. Then you've got the feds trying to do what they can do to control that by raising those rates, as we see, and so then that affects your bonds and your bond yields. Then we've got this mess going on in Ukraine, Tony, which we may be, I don't know, I'm just hopeful, but we may be getting close to some type of at least it may be the last phase of that. Hopefully, it looks like the Ukrainians are holding their ground, and but Tony, it really, and this, so the geopolitics have been off, obviously been out of sorts with that conflict there. So yeah, I mean, it's like a perfect storm for volatility, and that's exactly what we're seeing.
Yeah. Exactly. And I'm glad you brought up bonds, because typically, the old school way for so many years, you would hear 60-40, 60% in risk to get that growth and 40% in bonds. That's safer, and that's a good allocation. But that was just those rules of thumbs or generalities. They haven't worked for a long time, have they?
They really haven't, Tony. And I mean, what we really need to be thinking about, we're not, this isn't new. Okay. We've had market corrections. We've had volatility. You can go back really 100 years on the Dow, and you can see all of the bear markets, and then the bull markets, and the cycles that we've seen throughout our history. And so, when we plan a retirement and we're looking at a 25, 30, sometimes even a 35-year retirement plan, you've got to assume that there are going to be some peaks and valleys throughout that time frame. I mean, to try to suggest that you're going to retire and then for the next 30 years or 35 years in retirement, it's going to be rosy and all the, there's not going to be any hiccups along the way. And so, Tony, that really speaks to the investment strategy and the retirement plan in general. We really need to make sure that we have those buffers in there to where when we're drawing income, we're not pulling money out of the wrong accounts at the wrong time, and that we really have a plan in place, especially, Tony, for times like these.
Yeah. Yeah, especially for right now. And, it's a plan for the best, but prepare for the worst, right? You've said that before on the show, Anthony, and I think that is so true right now. It's more true than ever. And that's why hopefully you have a plan in place and you've been working with a financial services professional, someone like yourself, Anthony, who's a fiduciary. That means you are going to look out for your client's best interest, the people you meet with. So I would encourage our listeners to give you a call and set up that complimentary consultation, because you want to have a plan in place. If you don't already, you need one. And even if you do have one, time to get a second opinion on that plan. And make sure you have a written plan. I know you run reports, have a written plan that's long-term, that takes into account inflation and these types of things and market volatility. So that is huge. And, there are so many aspects of it, where your money's at, what buckets it in, the asset allocation. We've talked about that. And we talk about risk. But, Anthony, how can our listeners get a hold of you? I know you have a special offer for our listeners today.
I do, and I would just encourage you, if you're listening today and you've thought, I'd like to get a second opinion. I really would like to see a full holistic plan that covers our estate and legacy, which frankly that really ties in all of these keys, Tony, to a sound retirement plan, whether it be your estate plan, how things are going to pass on, your health care planning, if someone gets sick, your income strategy, where the distributions are coming from, your tax efficiency. It really all works together. So if you were ever inclined to get that second opinion and really look at a well-rounded, holistic plan, something that you can take with you, Tony, we really want to make that offer. And so I do have a special offer for our radio listeners, and I really hope you take advantage of it.
You've been listening to our shows and advice on getting your finances in order and creating a retirement income plan that will last. Now is the time to take advantage of our special offer. This is Anthony Kangemi with Crescent City Retirement Group, and we're now offering our 3-step retirement planning process at no cost and a $100 gift card to the restaurant of your choice upon completion of the planning process. Call Crescent City Retirement Group within the next 20 minutes at 504-828-2171. That number again is 504-828-2171.
And welcome back to Retirement Keys. I am your co-host, Tony Shore. And right here next to me, Anthony Kangemi. Anthony, great to see you today. Great to be on the show with you. And today we're talking about the state of the financial union. And people are, we don't want to be doom and gloom, but it's been a little stormy in the financial world lately. And I know that your listeners are actually your clients that you work with. You've helped so many people out. And your clients don't need to panic when there's market volatility or rising interest rates because they have a plan in place. And for our listeners out there, you need to work with a financial services professional, whether it's Anthony or someone else, but you need to make sure it's a fiduciary. And Anthony, I know you're more than happy to talk to our listeners out there. Now, in the first segment, we touched base with what's happening. We talked a little bit about the stock and bond market, and neither doing very well. It used to be if the stocks were way down, bonds would be up. But the Fed raised the interest rate. And, Anthony, I just want to touch base on that a little bit more. When the Fed raises the rate by 0.5%, it's funny because home loans were at around 3%. I know my wife and I locked in at 2.8%, I believe, when we refinanced our house. And now I saw that by the end of the year, it's going to be at 6%. They say it's at 5.5% now. And all the Fed did is raise it 0.5% and say they were thinking about raising it more later in the year. And it's already affected home buyers, hasn't it?
Oh, it absolutely has, Tony. And that will trickle down. We're still looking, to see, how that's going to affect other fixed interest rate securities. But it really has. I mean, we were on this this hiatus with interest rates and really cheap money, and so now we're seeing the rates go up and mortgage rates go up. Incidentally, y'all locked in a fabulous rate, Tony. And how long ago was that?
That was probably, I don't know, a year or so ago.
About a year.
Yeah, a year or two ago. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the perfect storm, Tony. You've got interest rates going up. That's going to affect your fixed income and your bond values. So you have to be real cautious of that. And it certainly has affected the volatility of the market. We're in these models, Tony. We believe value stocks are going to, and they already have, will outperform and be much less volatile than the growth sector of the of the asset classes. So we like value. That's the big blue chip dividend type stocks, Tony, that have really strong balance sheets. So we're really, heavier in that direction with our red money, if you will. On the bond side, Tony, these floating interest rates are going to do better than some of these longer term bond funds with these long durations. You want to keep it short. So then there are those tips, those treasury inflation protected securities that also are positioned well in these models, Tony. So there are things inside of these portfolios, Tony, for that red money, or what we call red money, where we really can reduce the volatility of these models. And as you know, Tony, and for those of our listeners that have read our book, Retiring Well, we talk a lot about red money and green money. And the red money, of course, is money in the market. But let's face it, there's different shades of red. So you can be in a very much more volatile portfolio. You could be in something a little more conservative. So the volatility of the model and the portfolio is going to determine the risk score of the portfolio. But there can be certainly different shades of red. And then, the green money, Tony, is the money in the investment strategy that has just simply got a floor. It's protected from market risk. And so it's real important to get that, red money, green money ratio in line. And as you know, Tony, the color of money risk analysis, or the COMRA, is a tool that we use to make sure that we have an appropriate balance between red money and green money. And the reason why that is so important, Tony, is because we are in the preservation and distribution phase in retirement, whereas when we were working and saving, we're in this accumulation phase. But when we transition to retirement, it's time to start protecting what we have, and then we have to consider the distribution of those assets. So quite different strategy. Once you reach the top of the mountain, the question is, how are we going to get back down? And that, of course, Tony, is very well documented in our retirement plans. And really, I encourage our listeners, if you don't have a well-written and very, organized retirement plan that encompasses these 5 key areas: the estate planning, healthcare, your investment strategy, your distribution or income plan, and then your tax efficiency. If we don't have all elements there, Tony, then we may be missing some things. And that's what I want to encourage our listeners. If you would like to get that second opinion, you would like to get the retirement plan at Crescent City Retirement Group, we call it the retirement map, and it encompasses those 5 keys. We really would appreciate giving us a call. Let us know that you'd like to see the plan. 504-828-2171. We're so happy to work with you.
Right. And I mean, as a financial advisor, radio show host, author, Anthony, you've helped so many people over the years, and I know you love sitting down and talking with people and helping them. Your main goal is education, financial education, and financial planning to help people invest properly and make sure they're going to have the money when they need it and maximize their savings and their finances. And that's what this is all about. So give that number one more time where our listeners can call to set up that no-charge consultation.
Absolutely. It's 504-828-2171. And let me just say, if you were building a house and you had a contractor, if there was no coordination, if you had trying to piecemeal it and you had, an electrician come and do, half the house, and another electrician come along, and then somebody to do the kitchen, and somebody to, and there was no coordination between the service professionals, it really could get a little convoluted. And frankly, we see that more and more in investment planning and retirement planning. Somebody might have, investments, an old 401k, or the CPA is doing a tax return, and then maybe there's a lawyer that put a will together, and maybe there's an insurance agent that sold an annuity and took care of the beneficiary designations. But if all of that is not cohesive and working together, it really can become, frankly, Tony, just really a hodgepodge. And so at the end of it, if you have a cohesive, holistic plan where the right hand knows what the left hand's doing and it's coordinated, you'd be really surprised at how efficient an overall retirement plan can look. And that's really what we're offering. If you would like to have a holistic retirement plan, get that second opinion, please take advantage of our offer.
You've been listening to our shows and advice on getting your finances in order and creating a retirement income plan that will last. Now is the time to take advantage of our special offer. This is Anthony Kangemi of Crescent City Retirement Group, and we're now offering a complimentary gourmet dinner and retirement planning workshop, The 5 Keys to a Stress-Free Retirement. This is one workshop you won't want to miss. Call in the next 20 minutes for this no-cost offer. Seating is limited. Call Crescent City Retirement Group within the next 20 minutes at 504-828-2171. That number again is 504-828-2171.
And welcome back to Retirement Keys. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore. I'm here with our host, Anthony Kangemi. And Anthony, great show so far. As I always say, Anthony Kangemi is the man with the plan. So when it comes to finances, Anthony, I really encourage our listeners to check out this show and past shows and check out your website because there's a lot of great information there. What is that website address one more time?
Sure, it's www.crescentcityretirement.com. So just simply crescentcityretirement.com. This show will be archived there. Previous and past shows are on our website. We send out we have podcasts on the site as well, and it's just really a tremendous wealth of resource and information on the site, Tony. And there's so many little nuances to this. I mean, even the income planning piece of it, Tony, and the tax strategies and required minimum distributions when you turn 72, and what are the tax implications of those distributions. We want to be tax efficient, obviously, especially, Tony, I don't think there would be many of us out here that don't feel that we're going to see tax increases in the future to try to pay down some of this debt.
Now, Anthony, we talked about the markets. We talked about rising interest rates, and that'll affect credit card interest rates, home loans. It'll affect car loans. So people are impacted by that, but also we've been impacted by inflation. And this is something we've been talking about for a while now because of rising inflation. And the inflation rate has just started to skyrocket with a lot of supply chain issues still left over from COVID era and since the war in the Ukraine started. So people it's supply and demand, right? That's what really affects the inflation rate out there, isn't it?
It really is. It really does, Tony. And I will say, in retirement, you could be feeling a pinch. You might have a structured income. You may have a plan, but you are feeling the pinch because typically in a retirement, you're on a fixed income. And if there wasn't enough inflation built in there for those increases, you may be feeling that pinch. And that's something you want to address. The idea in retirement was to transition into retirement and enjoy those golden years and do the things that you want to do when you want to do them. And with a well-designed and well-structured plan, you can absolutely do that. Will there be times where the market's down and in hibernation and these bear markets? Absolutely. And as you mentioned earlier, Tony, we did, pop into this bear market territory, which is simply just a 20% decline. Once S&P gets to a 20% decline or more, we move into this bearish category. But there will be times like this throughout our retirement years. But if we have a plan in place, we can weather those periods, we can ride through them, and we can get back to the good days. It's a cycle, and we have to understand that it's going to be that way. As long as we have a plan in place, we're going to be okay.
Yeah, that's huge. And obviously, it's so important for people to understand this. And, we have, as we say, the perfect storm right now, these things going on. But there are things that can be done, and you for sure need to get an opinion. At least a second opinion, because you can't get a second opinion from the person that gave you the first, or you want to make sure that you have more than, hey, I've got my 401k, or I've got some money in the market. No, you need more than that. You need somebody who's going to take a holistic approach and look at it from the overhead view, take a 40,000 view, and then hone in on the specific details as well. And that's what you do for your clients and have been doing for years there. And now is the time. You don't want to delay. It's going to be a volatile year, and the market's going to continue to go up and down, and we'll see where we're going from here. But the economy has been a strange one, right?
It really has, Tony. It's been a strange one. We're going to ride through it, and our radio listeners can absolutely have that plan, have a holistic plan, have a plan that takes into account inflation and that takes into account market volatility. The last thing you want to, what you want to avoid at all cost would be pulling money out of the wrong accounts at the wrong time.
You went over a lot of great things today on the show, Anthony, but we're almost out of time. Let our listeners know one more time how they can get a hold of you.
We thank you so much for joining us. You can reach us at crescentcityretirement.com or call our office at 504-828-2171. We thank you so much for joining us here on Retirement Keys. I do have a special offer I want to give you. Please take advantage of it.
Thank you for listening to Retirement Keys. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound income plan. For more information, please contact Anthony Congemi at Crescent City Retirement Group. Call 504-828-2171 or visit the website at crescentcityretirement.com. All matters discussed during this show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. Anthony Congemi and Crescent City Retirement Group are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency.